Discussing religion or politics with friends is a taboo topic. Well, for thousands of years, so has been the topic of burnout. It's been a badge of honour to work 22 hours a day. It shows toughness and resilience by never taking holidays, allegedly. But what is this work doing to our own personal health? A 2025 study published in the American Journal of Preventative Medicine estimated that employee burnout costs US employers between $4,000 and $21,000 per employee per year in lost productivity, disengagement, turnover, and the related effects. This Wise Words episode will focus on what burnout is and real tools for minimising it for yourself and your team.
Welcome to the Fitness Business Podcast with your host, Justin Tamsett. With over 30 years in the fitness industry, JT is a globally recognised authority with a mission to lower healthcare costs worldwide by getting more people moving and moving more often in quality facilities with qualified professionals. Every episode, JT digs deep with our guests to bring you insights that will help you lead, innovate, and boost your bottom line. So let's dive in.
In today's fitness industry, your edge comes from the people you learn from and the insights you execute. With the Fitness Business Podcast Insiders membership, you gain early and ad-free access to every episode, exclusive resources from our expert guests, private community access, and monthly workshops, all for under $5 a month. It's a professional advantage at an incredible price. Join the insider community now at patreon.com/fitnessbusinesspodcast.
Oh, are you guys loving hearing from Zoe this season? Well, the next episode, things go 100% crazy. Danielle Krishik is back. Now her book, The Story Effect, has been released and she takes over the microphone. She will take you on a journey of building a brand story by interviewing me. And Zoe, well, she's going to be your host. So don't miss episode 557. But first, this week, as you know, I am dedicated to providing you the best podcast to help your business grow. The reality behind every great fitness business are people. And if your people are not firing, then neither is your business. And that includes you as the leader. Emahlea Wilcher is a clinician, scientist, and founder of New Approach Health, a trauma-informed nutrition and burnout recovery practice. She helps high-achieving, stressed-out humans stop burning down their bodies to build their careers. She uses a nervous system-aware nutrition therapy and mind-body reconnection to ensure this works. Emahlea blends data, depth, and real-world compassion to help people feel safe, powerful, and at home in their bodies again. So let me start today's interview with, how, Emahlea, do you define burnout?
I think of burnout as the point where your brain and your body hit the emergency brake after too much stress for too long. The World Health Organization literally defines it as a syndrome caused by chronic workplace stress that hasn't been successfully managed, with features of exhaustion and cynicism and reduced effectiveness as the core features. But you can get burnout from anything. You can get burnout from being a caregiver. You can get burnout from a bad relationship. You can get burnout from school. But overall, it's never a feeling of, I just need a long weekend. It's a feeling of, I took a whole week off and I still feel dead inside. So common signs are you wake up tired, no matter how much you've slept, you're more irritable and cynical, and you feel pretty numb. Your focus is off, you're forgetting things, you're making small mistakes, you start dreading work that you used to be excited about, and your body is just noisy. You get headaches, gut issues, strong cravings, you get sick all the time. And if that mix has been around for weeks or months, it's not just a busy season anymore, it's burnout. And in the fitness world specifically, the studies that I've read suggest that roughly a third of coaches and personal trainers meet criteria for high personal burnout. So it's not rare. It's baked into a lot of how people in the industry are working.
We think there's a badge of honor that we can put on our arm to say, gosh, I worked 22 out of 24 hours in the last day. Aren't I the best? I mean, that's how we've been brought up, I guess, as entrepreneurs or to be successful, isn't it?
Yeah. And I mean, it's true that like we have to work our asses off in order to get our goals met. That is true. But there's a really important difference between working your ass off to get things set up and actually learning how to delegate, right? Like learning how to scale, learning how to expand, learning how to not have so much control. Because when you tighten the control and you refuse to give it up, you're going to end up burned out.
I reckon there's a lot of people listening to us right now that are thinking, shit, I need to give up some control. Hopefully we cover some of that today. From your research, and you got a double degree, so you're right in that nerdy space. Can I ask, what from your research, how does burnout affect us? And I want to cover 4 areas. Let's go number 1. How does burnout affect us physically?
You can definitely tell by your nervous system. Your nervous system is going to stay in threat mode. It's going to feel like it's running from a tiger, when in reality, it's just running from calendar notifications. So you see blood sugar swings, which is going to be causing you to feel feelings of like dizziness, headaches, nausea, irritability. You'll end up having weight fluctuations because your appetite is going to fluctuate. Sometimes you're going to be more hungry. Sometimes you're going to lose all of your appetite. Just kind of depends on sort of what your typical threat expression is. You have more inflammation. You're going to feel heavier. You're going to feel bloated. You're going to feel shitty overall. It's like malaise for your emotions almost, but it's also malaise for the whole body. You'll end up with gut problems. A lot of people really struggle with chronic diarrhea or just chronic bloating, chronic abdominal pain, chronic indigestion. Your libido will drop pretty significantly as well. People are more prone to injury and they get more colds, so a lot more respiratory infections. And recovery is really slow across the board when you have burnout. So for people whose jobs depend on performance and presence, like coaches and trainers and entrepreneurs, it hits both their health and their income.
What about mentally? What does it do to the top 2 inches of our head?
When you have a lot of clarity and sharpness and creativity, you find that just takes a major nosedive when you start to develop burnout. You have these feelings of, why can't I think? Why can't I process? Why can't I focus? Why can't I get my shit together? Your anxiety will go up. Your mood is going to drop. And some people feel really, really flat, like they've lost their spark, like the light inside of them has really dimmed. And so in a lot of workplaces, around 15% of adults are estimated to be living with a diagnosable mental health condition at any given time. And burnout is a huge part of that landscape. Huge.
So you've mentioned a couple of times irritability as being a bit of a symptom. Burnout's got to affect our relationships. Tell me more how it might affect, particularly, let's think about our home relationships with our partner or our kids. What does burnout do for that relationship?
When your tank is empty, your fuse is going to be short. And so you're going to snap more easily. You're going to shut down. It's going to be hard to work through conflict. It's going to be hard to keep up with the tasks that you have at home. The people that you care about are going to get whatever scraps you have left over after work. So that could be your partner. That could be your kids. That could even be your friends. And it can be your clients and members as well. And at the end of the day, you also get scraps for yourself. Your relationship with yourself suffers significantly as well.
So if I'm suffering burnout, I'm really screwing up myself, my relationship, and my impact that I might have in the workplace. Like, we tick all those boxes. So then why do people live in denial? Well, if we know that's all the negatives to burnout, lots of people probably live in denial about actually suffering burnout and trying to think, I'm just going to power through. It's like, well, I don't know if you know, but if you're running a marathon and you're getting to like 35 Ks out of 42, or you're at 16 miles and it's like you're thinking, what the hell am I doing? But I'm just going to power through to get this. I guess that's almost the feeling when you're in burnout, but people just are in denial. Why?
Because they don't realize that they're burned out. It's something that looks very similar to being a good worker and how we're all trained. Toxic hustle culture is genuinely toxic. Burnout is insidious. It's gradual. It creeps in a little bit at a time. So today will feel pretty similar to last month, and then it just becomes normal. We tend to praise overworking, answering emails late at night, saying yes to everything, hustle being a personality trait, and exhaustion is framed as dedication. Exhaustion is framed as loyalty. Exhaustion for, a startup is framed as just being part of the family. And so in industries like fitness, where a third of professionals already report high burnout, the hustle culture is even louder, with early mornings, late nights, stacked clients, a lot of side gigs. And so founders and coaches often carry this identity of, I'm the strong one, I can handle it. And saying that you're burned out can feel like you're admitting that you're not that person. And underneath that is a major fear, a fear that you'll lose money, a fear that you'll lose status, a fear that you will lose clients, or even just a fear that you'll lose respect if you slow down or ask for help. So people will push it off until their body makes the decision for them, until they're forced to actually follow through on it.
What's the trigger that kind of goes, shit, I'm heading to the toilet now? Not literally heading to the toilet, but you know what I mean? I'm heading down that drain and getting absolutely burnt out. What's the trigger that we should be looking for just straight off the bat?
If you feel like you're just making little excuses for the kinds of things that you're experiencing, if you feel that your routine is kind of being, pushed off, if you feel, oh, I'll get to it next week, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, just noticing that things are different than how you normally follow your path, that is a really good indicator that you're heading toward burnout. You have to notice your own tells first before you can actually figure out how to change things, right? Awareness is the first step to behavior change.
I love that. Like, there's so many great little tips there, I think, for us to be able to identify when we've got burnout, which is cool, but that's almost probably too late because we're now suffering. So how do we actually minimize our own burnout before we get to that point?
Trusting that the information that your body is giving you isn't just you being dramatic. It isn't just you minimizing yourself. It's paying attention sooner instead of waiting for the crash. As I said, noticing your own tells is really that first step. So for me personally, I'm missing sleep, I'm getting really crazy sugar cravings, and I start to develop a sense of resentment toward my job, toward my partner, toward my life, toward any of the responsibilities that I have. And everyone has their own version of that. And so when those symptoms kind of start to spike, that's your early warning system. And then after you have that information, after you've noticed, right, really taken everything in, you have to lower the floor instead of trying to raise the ceiling. And so I call it the minimum viable week. You have to decide what a minimum viable week looks like for you. And that includes what you can do consistently without wrecking yourself. You can't treat your baseline as 110% effort. And so when you look at data that shows things like 70% of Gen Z and millennial workers report burnout symptoms in the last year, it's pretty clear that just push harder is not working as a strategy. So once you've learned how to lower the floor instead of raising the ceiling, you need to protect the simple things to prevent yourself from getting further into burnout or revisiting it. You need to eat regular meals. You need a real sleep window. And you need at least one small nervous system reset every day, whether that's walking, breathing, stretching, some anchor that tells your body that it's not under attack. Even meditation can be really helpful.
Sorry, what did you call that? That was a reset of the central nervous system, is that right?
Nervous system reset, absolutely.
That's a great tip. Like you said, breathing. Are we talking an hour? Are we talking 5 minutes? What sort of reset do we need?
I walk my clients through, probably it takes 2 minutes at most, of just breathing in and out 5 times to the count of 4 with a little bit longer exhale. And that literally in sessions like shifts them from being anxious when they come in to I watch them settle. It's wild. And it happens with me too. Even just like learning how to speak slowly, like for right now, this example of how I'm speaking, that can be calming enough to people that their nervous system will settle. And so just learning how to be calm can really help you notice the signals inside that you're not recognizing. And when you have chronic stress, it strips away your ability to eat regular meals. It strips away your ability to have a real sleep window. It strips away your ability to notice, because chronic stress is very toxic to the body. It's what gives rise to things like cancer and heart disease and other chronic diseases that really don't feel that good. And so it's really important to ask for help before you're in that full collapse, whether that be like therapy or nutrition support, coaching, or as we spoke about earlier, finally delegating the stuff that you've been clinging to in your business. So even in these high stress fields, like being an entrepreneur or working in healthcare like I do, the people who have support and clear expectations are actually dramatically less likely to report frequent burnout than people who feel like they're white knuckling it alone, which is really common for us entrepreneurs because it is lonely at the top, and that is real. So getting connected to a community of people who understand can be all the support that you need to release yourself from being stuck in burnout.
So if the listeners will let me go on a slight tangent, Emily. Way back in the early 2000s, I was an entrepreneur. I mean, I still am, but I was an entrepreneur, had 2 clubs, and let's be honest, I loved what I did. I never considered it work at all, and it was just unreal what I was doing. And toward the end of my journey as a club owner, and you'll understand why I sold my clubs in a minute, I started to get, I'm going to gross people out now. I started to get blood in my poo. And I'm like, that's not normal, but I'm a man, so I'm not going to go and see the doctor about this till it was too bloody late. And the end result was I ended up getting chronic disease called ulcerative colitis. It is disgusting, so I'm not going to tell anybody about what it does to you. And I spent some time in hospital. I was on my computer and tapping away, and the nurse came up to me and she said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, while I'm in hospital, I need to still, get some work done for my business." And she said, "Are you an idiot?" And I went, "I don't think so." And she said, "Did you know that, well, we don't have it absolutely factual. Anecdotally, it seems that ulcerative colitis is caused by stress. And so you probably, if you want to get better, should shut your computer down and just spend the next 5 days in hospital decompressing from life." And I was like, wow. Listeners, this is why we've got Emily on the show, because I don't want anyone else to go through the pain that I went through. And it really does affect your health, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It can be like the make or break between you being able to meet the goals that you want and you absolutely collapsing under the pressure of stress. It really can cause major issues.
But I think I did what you said. I normalized my behavior as opposed to stopping and going, that's not normal. You're not eating right. You're not sleeping right. You got abdominal pain. That's not right. Whereas I just powered through it. There's been some real nuggets of gold today, Emily, and I really appreciate that. Let's turn our minds now to, we have a team of people that work for us. And so often as entrepreneurs, like I said, we have this badge of honor of hustling and working hard. I guess my question is, how do we minimize the burnout that we might put on our staff? What sort of things should we do with our team to make sure they don't burn out?
You want sane schedules. You want real boundaries. You want a culture where people feel safe speaking up. You don't need pizza parties or anything like that. You just want to help your staff understand that the culture is not burnout. Making a sustainable schedule standard is the gold standard. Building in buffer time between clients is super important. And we really should stop holding up the coach who works the most hours as the model to copy. Because if you remember in fitness, we already see numbers like 32 to 33% of the trainers report high personal burnout and close to 30% report work-related burnout. So more hours is basically just pouring gasoline on a fire that's already burning. If you give people some control over their schedule and how they run sessions, that can make a huge difference. Because having zero control over your day is a major fast track to burnout. It's so important that we model boundaries for people. It is so important that we model boundaries, because if you are sending messages at 11 p.m., you are silently telling people that they should also be available then. And so when you create an environment where someone can say, "Hey, I'm at capacity," or "Hey, this isn't sustainable for me," and they don't get punished or labeled as a problem, that can create so much safety that prevents burnout. And putting real resources behind it, education on stress, access to support, whatever it is that fits your business, whatever you need, it becomes clear that their health matters as much as the output that they make. And so when people know what's expected, when people have reasonable workloads and they feel supported, their odds of frequent burnout drop dramatically. Then you don't have so much employee loss.
I love the real boundaries concept. That's fascinating. And obviously here in Australia, we've got laws now, and I believe they're in France as well, and maybe Ireland. Alan Leach, if you're listening, you can confirm that for us, that you can't send emails after 5 o'clock, or you can, but you can't expect a reply until the next day. So in a sense, the government has enforced those real boundaries, but as business owners, we have to develop that as part of our culture, don't we?
I have employees that work for me who, they will hustle as hard as I let them, and I won't let them. And I love to hustle. I really do, because it's energizing. As you said, being an entrepreneur, you love what you do. It doesn't feel like work. But I don't ever want to ask somebody to do that for me.
So, Emily, one of the things I guess that exacerbates our burnout maybe Is it scrolling? Is it that doom scrolling that we do during the day and waiting for a coffee or at night? Like from your research, what does scrolling do to us?
It almost acts as noise canceling for how loud it is inside of you. So if you're already kind of keyed up, what it does is it matches that. It doesn't calm you down. It doesn't decompress you. It doesn't help you refresh, restore, replenish, find new energy. It keeps you on edge, which is why Facebook was so intentional about helping people continue to want to scroll, right? These apps are addictive. They're addictive in ways that really just prey on like our dopamine reward system. And so what ends up happening is you wake up and then all the notifications are there and you just want to look up Instagram or you just want to look at TikTok. TikTok is a really common one right now. And then these algorithms are trained on the kind of content that you find most pleasurable. And they continue to make fine-tuned movements to give you more of that content so that you feel less likely to set it down. And by the time you set your phone down because you have to go to work or you have to answer the email or you have to do something else, you're still going to be as on edge, if not more, than you were before. So it essentially can accelerate the burnout process pretty significantly because you never actually calm down.
Wow, that's fascinating. Thanks for sharing that. So one of the things we've got to do is we've got to perhaps change our habits, how we do things. Again, from your research, I love diving into these nerdy people that understand all this stuff. Tell me, how long does it take to form a new habit?
There's the old adage of, it takes 21 days to form a habit, which is like total bullshit. But like if you repeat something often enough, I mean, it really depends like on your history. Like how does your nervous system respond to change? If you're the kind of person who absolutely fucking hates change, your nervous system is going to take a really long time to settle into a new routine. If you're going into this motivated, if you're going into it fearful, that does shift how quickly you can build that new habit. So if you, for example, are like trying to figure out how to answer more emails because they're starting to pile up and you've been like putting them off for a minute, it's going to take some time for you to like soften the fear enough to like turn it into something that you're doing out of will and momentum and discipline, not something that you're doing because holy shit, everything is on fire. I need to fix this right now. So what I like to help people do is learn how to stay in a really steady kind of like flow state, a calm state with themselves so that they don't ever struggle to incorporate new habits and behaviors. Because a calm nervous system is always going to be more receptive to building new habits than one that is keyed up. Forcing, like brute forcing a habit. So for example, if you have a scrolling problem, getting one of those lock boxes where you literally have to like take a hammer to break it if you want the object that's inside of it, that will technically work, but it's not going to be the easiest thing you've ever done because you're doing it. Well, by the time you choose that, you've done it, as a like, oh my God, this is my last step kind of thing. But it takes multiple times of failure, which us entrepreneurs, like failure is like our bread and butter, basically. It's like we know that failure is part of the process. But for a lot of people who aren't entrepreneurs, failure is really painful. And so if their nervous system receives failure very painfully, they're going to be more resistant to developing those new habits because they're going to fail and they're going to be like, well, what's even the point? Getting over failure is part of the entrepreneurial process. And so we kind of take for granted how softened we are into it, how receptive we are to it being part of the process. It can take some time to develop new habits. It can take days, it can take months. It just depends on how long it takes you to settle into it, settle into the safety of a new habit.
So what we should be doing is, based on what you said previously, is we need to do some breathing or some meditation to soften that nervous system before we attempt that new habit.
And like, there's ways that you can do this on a team level, and then there's ways that you can do it on a personal level. You can essentially like on a team level, do like an energy audit. So it's like where you write down with your team what drains you and what gives you energy. And at the end of the week, you can just pick one of the big drains to like cut out, to automate, to delegate to somebody else, right? Talking about giving up control. And so you don't keep spending energy on things that don't matter. Reminder of the minimum viable week that I described earlier, and just figuring out what your non-negotiables are. Like learning how to make sure that you protect short breaks between blocks or like taking a real day off. Like once you feel your nervous system settle and soften into like, oh my God, I've needed this so badly, then your nervous system will actually recover instead of just surviving, right? We want to thrive, not survive. We want sustainable instinct, not survivable instinct. And so with your team, you can do a weekly stress and systems check-in as well, where you basically ask, what felt most stressful this week? And then what system do we need to implement? What kind of continuous small adjustment do we need to implement to fix everything, but over time in a sustainable way? Because a giant fix everything is just going to make everyone more exhausted and it's going to fail.
Now, obviously, the very first step to stopping burnout is to call you and to contact you. How do people get in touch with you?
Getting in touch with me, you go to www.newapproach.health. And right now we're advertising our Costa Rica retreat, which is going to take place in April. So you can get in touch with me there. Or you can go find me on LinkedIn. It's Emahlea Wilcher, Emahlea, Wilcher, Wilcher. That's the best way to get in touch with me personally, because I do reply to the LinkedIn messages. So reach out there.
You certainly do. So yes, I can attest to she responds to LinkedIn messages. I will put all Emily's details in the show notes today. That's step one. Step two, what should we do to avoid burnout? Second step, and here's your challenge. Can you share something with us that you've never shared with anyone else on any other podcast, white paper, ebook, anything like that? Go.
So step two is actually showing that you mean it by bringing in one boundary and one habit. So with clients, we start by picking one boundary that protects their energy. That could be something like no work messages after a certain time, taking one full day off, whatever it is that makes sense for their life. And then we add in a nourishing habit, something that's tiny, but can be made into something consistent, like eating a real breakfast or a 10-minute walk outside between sessions instead of scrolling. And then they tell somebody else about these two commitments that they've made, because accountability makes all the difference. And I actually don't think I've ever really talked about accountability before. So that might be the one that we work with. I have always loved having accountability buddies. I think that they are the greatest thing that you can have for making sure that you safely and consistently approach your goals. Burnout doesn't turn around because of a big dramatic change. It's the little shifts that make the difference. You have to repeat them over and over and over and over until your nervous system finally believes that you're safe. And so when you remember that millions of people worldwide are losing workdays to stress and depression and anxiety, the tiny habits stop feeling optional, and they really do start looking like the foundation of your career longevity. So making sure that you have a boundary and making sure that you have a nourishing habit. That's what we look for.
I love that. Thank you so much. Here's my challenge to you. Don't just listen to this episode. Stop, think, self-reflect. What do you need to do to ensure you're mentally fit? And pay it forward too. Think of one person, just one, who'd be better at their job or lead better because of what you heard today. And share this link with them. Post this link in your socials. Share it. Pay it forward. That one share can have a ripple effect far bigger than you could ever imagine. Now, each episode, as you know, we shout out Rex Roundtable trusted suppliers. They're trusted solution providers who help clubs run better, grow stronger, and serve their members. Their links are waiting for you at thefitnessbusinesspodcast.com, and support them as they support our show. ABC Fitness Solutions simplifies operations, amplifies marketing and sales efforts, and enables a dynamic member experience. Lionel University provides online degree and certificate programs in exercise science and fitness education. Atlantis Strength designs and manufactures professional strength equipment for gyms and athletes. Hire Bob AI provides AI employees for fitness businesses for sales, support, and retention. Today's been a long show. Hopefully you've got lots of value out of it. And as I said before, please share the show. And remember, next episode, there's a hostile takeover of the Fitness Business Podcast microphone. Don't miss it. What we leave behind is not set in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others.